All right. So it is 4:31, so we will go ahead and get started here today. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Amanda Schellinger. I am the Advancement and Event Coordinator here with NKF Wisconsin. Today we will be having a webinar on CKD and eating out. Today our speaker is Jill Hoyt, who is a renal dietitian at the Mayo Clinic Health System. Jill, I will go ahead and let you take it away here. And just want to mention, if you have any questions, please submit them in the Q&A panel. We will hold all questions to the end of the event, and then I will go ahead and moderate those. So I will let you take it away, Jill. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Amanda, and thanks for NKFW for inviting me today. As Amanda said, I am Jill Hoyt. I am a renal dietitian with the Mayo Clinic Health System located in Northwest Wisconsin. I see kind of patients on all spectrums. I see the earlier stages, stage 3 to 5, not on dialysis, as well as our hemo and our peritoneal dialysis patients. So thanks for joining today. I think just the fact that, all of you are taking your time out of your own day to listen in says a lot about you taking the initiative of, trying to better manage your chronic kidney disease. So I think, well, before we dive into the slides, I think we just, why do we eat out? I think it's really important to, think of, what is food to us? It goes beyond more than just, calories and all the minerals and vitamins that it gives us. I mean, there's a lot more to the why we eat. And I think that you have to think about those and the reasons of why people are eating out. So I think what we do today and how we live is way different than even when I was a kid. And then, going back, 100 years, our society has really, really changed. So we're on the go. That's what our society is. We are just go, go, go people, whether it's our work, we're running after our kids, our social lives, whatever. And then I think too, for many of you living with a chronic disease, you may not just have chronic kidney disease, you might have a lot of other things going on. So, gosh, I know a lot of you have a lot of appointments. So you are on the go with that. And with that, you're traveling through the day, you're missing meals. And so you're stopping somewhere and eating. And you may just not feel really great because of all that to be cooking at home. And let's just face it, it's convenient, right? You just don't feel like cooking, whether you're not motivated or maybe you just don't have the energy. And I definitely had to add, or you just don't want to do the dishes. I think that is a key factor. And sometimes when I choose to grab takeout for my family, is I don't want to cook because I don't want to do the dishes tonight. So yeah, I'm definitely a person that eats out. Don't think just because I'm a dietitian that I eat perfectly all the time. I do eat out, and that's okay. And I should have started this by saying, I promise you, there's nothing I'm going to tell you today that you can't or shouldn't ever eat just because you're living with chronic kidney disease. I think it's really important that there's no such thing as like eat this and don't eat that. It's not that black and white. And I think though sometimes when you maybe start, Googling and doing your own research, that's what the impression people get. And then you're just kind of, you don't know what to eat. But hey, eating out is fun too, right? It's, social gatherings. You go out with your friends, your family, the people you love. You go out for birthdays, holidays, or just to get together with and just hang out. You haven't seen your buddies for a while. You just want to go out for dinner, right? And I think, like I said, food is more than just calories and vitamins and minerals. Food really connects us, and it's important that you continue to do that, even if you're living with chronic kidney disease. Maintaining a good and healthy social life is so important for your overall health. It's not just about what you eat or the medications that you take. And then just that phrase, food connects us. I just want to say that is the theme this year for National Nutrition Month, which is here in March this month, as well as National Kidney Month. So I just thought that was very fitting to add into this presentation today. So can I eat out if I have kidney disease? I think I kind of answered that question already. Yes, absolutely, you can. You shouldn't have to give up anything and everything just because you have this. And I think the overall goal is that you may not be finding the perfect, meal on paper. It might not have, so much sodium, so much protein, and everything that, we might recommend. But the goal is to find the best and safest option for you if you are going to go out to eat because it's hard. I mean, when we go out to eat, the restaurant's options, yes, they're going to be higher in sodium. But hopefully the tips I give you today can give you some ideas on how to find, the best and safest option from the choices that you have there. Okay, so what are we looking for when or what might are be the potential concerns when we're going out to eat? Salt is the first and foremost thing. When you have kidney disease, that's the number one thing we start talking to patients about is looking at how much salt you're eating. Likely you're eating too much, most of us are, and then trying to decrease that. And so when we go out to eat, fast food, of course, and then also, just any sit down restaurant, you're likely getting a lot of sodium. And so, again, I'll hopefully give you some tips on how to navigate through some menus. And it might not be, again, the perfect meal, but you can lower the sodium content of what you, excuse me, what you might usually be ordering. And then protein. So protein is a really big important thing when we're talking about kidney disease, especially in those like between stage 3 and 5 before you're hitting dialysis. It's not just about the amount of protein that you're eating, but also the type of protein that a person is eating. The top picture there you see is all the different types of animal protein. We have chicken and beef and fish, eggs, dairy, and then the bottom picture are our plant protein options. Your nuts, your seeds, your dried legumes. These are really these are provide us with protein, but they're healthier options for our kidneys, and they're less harsh on our kidneys, if you will. Doesn't mean you can't ever eat meat, but maybe when you start going out to eat and you see, the burger versus something with a plant protein option, you can start, considering choosing that instead. And then portion size. I think we can probably all agree that the portions we get when we go out to eat are way more than what we need to eat. And I'm not even talking about the supersize things, just, what you get for your normal meal without, indicating the supersize is more than, what a recommended portion would be. So even just paring down the portions that you eat, you're going to be cutting back on the amount of sodium that you're eating. And then a couple other things that you may have to look out for. This will be very specific to each one of you are phosphorus and potassium and potentially how much fluid you're drinking. I'm not going to talk too specifically about those today because, like I said, those are very specific to you and what your kidney stage of kidney disease, what your labs are showing. Excuse me. But the other things, the salt and the protein, the portion size, those would be pretty indicated for all of you. I will say though, sorry, as far as the phosphorus goes, if you are a person that does take phosphorus binders, it's important to try to remember to take those when you're traveling, when you're eating, which I can imagine can be very hard to remember those. I know I would have a hard time remembering those. But considering, if you're carrying a purse, leave them in that, leave them in your car in the, glove compartment, something like that. So you always have them available when you're traveling. Excuse me. I was telling Amanda I practiced this presentation a couple times today, and by the end of it, I was losing my voice. So hopefully I make it through. Okay, so some tips. When we are going out to eat, what can we do to ultimately lower that salt content and make the meal, again, not perfect, but better? So I would say plan ahead. Review menu online ahead of time. Especially if it's a chain restaurant, most of these have menus online that you can look, see your options, and it'll have the nutrition content listed there. It won't have everything, all the vitamins and minerals, but it very likely will have calories and sodium listed there. And the sodium would be the big thing you would want to look at. Just ordering food as plain as possible. So what I mean by this is if it has dressings, sauces, gravies, marinades, all of that, order those on the side. Those are things that are adding adding flavor to your food, and it's also adding a lot of sodium to your food. So if you order them on the side, you can use a smaller amount versus what the cook in the kitchen would be putting on in your plate in the back. Request foods to be prepared without salt. I think that might not always be able to be accommodated, but I think it's worth asking all the time. And then to avoid, I'm so sorry, to avoid condiments such as ketchup, mustard, pickles, and mayo. I'm so sorry, guys. All right, smaller portions. We talked about portion sizes. Just ordering, if they come small, medium, large, ordering a small. Even consider ordering a kid's meal. That may sound silly as an adult, but that way you can, get a smaller portion, ultimately less sodium. Share with someone. I think if you're going out to eat with your friends, like I said, that is, very important going with, the socialization part of it. But, sharing with them can, I am so sorry. I might have to take a time out here. I'm just going to turn my camera off, I think, while I...
Yeah, no worries. Thank you, Jill. We'll just take a brief intermission.
All right, we'll see how far we can get. I'm sorry. This is kind of embarrassing. Okay, so share with someone. Like I said, I think it's important to continue to go out to eat and socialize with people. I think you would be surprised too. Sharing a meal, you would be completely satisfied as far as your fullness. Of course, if you got your own meal, I think most of us would just, we'd gobble it up and eat it, and wouldn't think anything of it. But if you share the meal, you'd probably be just as satisfied, and you just cut your salt intake in half. And then maybe consider taking half of it home. I know that might sound silly, when you get your meal served to you and you ask for a to-go box right away and put half of it away. But again, it would kind of be similar to sharing with someone. Substitutions. I think substitutions, like especially for your sides, often the side for most entrees, you usually get your fries with your burger, fries with your wrap, fries with your steak. Consider getting a side salad or like the steamed vegetables with it. That would really cut back on the salt content as well. And then be mindful of what you eat the rest of the day at home. Especially if you know you're going out to eat, it's a planned meal, and you're going to be getting a lot of that extra salt. Just think about what you're eating the rest of the day. If you have not been told what a recommended amount is, the general recommendation is around 2,000 milligrams of salt a day. So again, if you look at the menu online and you're picking out your entree that you're going to have at this restaurant, and maybe it's 800, 900, 1,000 milligrams, which is a lot, but then think about what you're eating the rest, the rest of the day to really keep yourself within that 2,000 milligrams. Okay, so the next slides, we're going to go through some actual menu options or meal options from some restaurants, I think popular restaurants around here, and show what the sodium content is. And I got these straight off their websites, like I had suggested. So the cheeseburger value basket at Culver's. Culver's, I think, is a staple in most of us here in Wisconsin. So the cheeseburger value basket, you have the cheeseburger, so it's the burger with the cheese, extra salt. You have the ketchup, mustard, pickles, and look at that, 1,350 milligrams just for the sandwich itself. And then you add the fries and the Coke. That total meal is 2,300 milligrams. And if you remember, I just said your total intake should be around 2,000 for the day. So completely exceeded that in just that one value basket. And I think most of us could probably confess that we could easily eat that whole thing. I know I could, and not realize that we get that much salt. So here, just doing some of those tips I said, you consider getting a single burger, no cheese, plain, no mustard pickles, no condiments. You substitute and get the side salad. I took off the cheese and croutons, so it's just a side salad, and then I know it has some fresh veggies on top, so that's very low in sodium. And then the dressing packet, and I only used half of it because it is just a small salad, so I think you could get by with only half of it. So there you cut from 2,300 milligrams down to only 752 milligrams of sodium for that meal. So that would be a lot better option for you with kidney disease, actually for anyone, I would say. And then the hamburger kids meal. So again, I suggested maybe considering a kids meal just to get a smaller quantity. Plain hamburger, stick with the fries, but it's a small fry. So still 915 milligrams. It's a lot, but it's less than that initial cheeseburger value basket. And then I wanted to look at a salad because a lot of us think, get a salad, great, it's a lot healthier, right? Just because it's a salad. So this is a cashew chicken salad. It has topped with a grilled chicken, chopped grilled chicken, and then the cashews and some other fresh vegetables. 870 milligrams just for the salad. And I was pretty surprised at that actually. But where a lot of that sodium is coming from is from the chicken, believe it or not, because in this particular case, the chicken would be what they would call enhanced, which a lot of restaurant chicken is. And that just means it's been injected with like a sodium broth solution, which makes it more tender and juicy and ultimately taste a little bit better. But it gives us a lot more salt. So that cashew chicken salad with the dressing, 1,200 milligrams. So over half of your day's recommendation. And then I thought, well, hey, what if I take that chicken off, right? That's where a lot of the salt was. So it's a salad without the chicken. Cut that down to only 320 milligrams, still the dressing, and cut it almost in half. The total meal right there is only 650 milligrams. So, and then you might say, well, hey, Jill, you just took the chicken away. Where's all my protein, right? Well, if you remember, we talked about the types of protein, the plant and the animal protein. Well, this still has the cashews on it, which is a good plant protein. So taking the chicken away, leaving the cashews on it, you still get 14 grams of protein with that salad. So that's a pretty decent meal for you to have when you go out. So just kind of comparing all those choices, I would say if you're going to Culver's, maybe consider doing that cashew chicken salad, no chicken, hamburger with the plain hamburger with the side salad instead of the French fries. Texas Roadhouse is a pretty popular restaurant around here, and kind of think who doesn't like a good steak, right? Um, so just comparing, this is kind of comparing the top two boxes. We're looking at the 6-ounce sirloin steak with the mushrooms, then we have fries for a side, and the salad with ranch dressing. And holy smokes, 5,000 milligrams. I was pretty surprised at that, but that came straight from their website, so I'm going to trust that it's right. And then when you look to the right of the box, so here I'm keeping with the steak, but I cut the serving size in half. So again, we're looking at the portion size. I think 3 ounces is a reasonable size for any one of you with kidney disease. And then instead of the French fries, we're going to do the sweet potato, and then the salad, we're going to do oil and vinegar instead of the ranch dressing, and that drastically drops the amount of salt. So you can see, and you can just go on any of these websites and you start playing around with these meals and the sides, and you can really get a better lower sodium option by doing that. And then the bacon cheeseburger and fries, 4,700 milligrams, and then the grilled chicken doing applesauce instead of fries, and then again the oil and vinegar instead of ranch, and that really, really drops the amount of sodium. So I would say out of all those options, you could do the lower or the smaller, the 3-ounce steak with the sweet potato, or do the chicken sandwich with the applesauce. And you can see those are pretty decent amounts of sodium right there. When we're saying recommending that 2,000 milligrams, I usually tell people, so if you divide that by 3 meals a day, really aiming for 600 to 700 milligrams per meal is pretty pretty reasonable. So even the chicken sandwich at 680, I think is okay. Quick Trip. I mean, who doesn't go to Quick Trip, how many times a week for whether it's gas or stop for food, right? Um, so here's some different options. We have your quarter-pound cheeseburger, add the ketchup and mustard, 1,600 milligrams. This is just for the chicken or the sandwich alone. No sides, no drink, nothing else. Or they have their soup options there, and soup tends to be pretty salty. They have 3 different sizes of soup. So if this is for the smallest 1 cup of chicken noodle soup. Get a banana to go with it. And there it's only 560 milligrams. You can see it's only 215 calories, so it's pretty low for a meal. So I'm not suggesting this is like the best and most complete meal, but again, if you're on the run, you're stopping for a quick bite to eat, I would go for this versus grabbing that quarter-pound cheeseburger. And then you can see the slice of pizza with fruit. So the fruit's a good option. Still, the slice of pizza is 1,000 milligrams. And then they have some nice prepackaged salads. I know they package them, daily. They're fresh, and so the chicken Caesar salad, do the raspberry vinaigrette dressing. So that's pretty reasonable with 573 milligrams. So I'm going to kind of wrap this up quick to the questions before I lose my voice. So in summary, I'd really say plan ahead, as you can kind of see with how I went through all those different menu options. Look at the menus if they're available to you. And you can really play around, pick out some of your kind of common entrees that you usually order. So you can see like, gosh, am I really getting a lot of salt? I mean, maybe you're not, maybe you're making great choices already, but see where you can even make them a little bit better with different substitutions. Order plain, be aware of all those things that add flavor, but I also add sodium, like the dressings and condiments, all of that stuff. Order them on the side or just completely omit them altogether. Order smaller portions. That makes a huge difference. You're still enjoying the favorite foods that you like, but just having a smaller amount will bring down that salt content. Again, the substitutions, choosing side salads or steamed vegetables instead of the salty French fries or cheese curds. And watch what you eat for other meals throughout the day. Again, if you are mindful and eat very low sodium for the rest of the meals, you can maybe get by and enjoy that, especially if it's a special outing with your friends. That certainly is a time to enjoy and maybe indulge a bit. Consider packing your own meals. And I would really suggest this for those of you that may find yourself eating out frequently, especially if it's, you're traveling for work or you're traveling for appointments, multiple days a week, and you're just always stopping on the go. Consider packing, taking a lunch along, a little bit extra work. But I think definitely worth it for you and your kidney health in the long run. And then ultimately, I would say just enjoy. I mean, like I said, I think it's very, very important to continue to, eat out and socialize with people. And that's really the most important. And food must be enjoyable to be eaten. So we definitely want to keep that in mind. So with that, if there's any questions, I will do my best to answer them.
Thank
I'm
you,
so
Jill.
sorry.
That's okay.
Oh.
Thank you so much for working
Oh.
through your voice going out on you.
Mm.
Thank you for the wonderful presentation. I know that I learned a lot about very easy swaps. I mean, some things just seem insurmountable until you get down to it, and it's really not as challenging as you thought it was. So,
No.
thank you.
Well, and I would say, just myself going on these websites and looking, picking and choosing, entrees, just showing different examples. I was like, wow, I never would have thought that it was that high in salt. So it was eye-opening for
Yeah,
myself as well.
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I do have a couple of questions here. So just a reminder for anybody who is on the webinar right now, if you have any questions on the top ribbon of your window, there should be a Q&A section that you can click on and type in your question if you should have any. Okay, so the first question we have here is frozen yogurt better for kidney disease patients than ice cream? Is there a big difference?
Um, maybe, well, I would, I think it's probably a horse apiece. I mean, frozen yogurt is going to be lower in fat than your ice
Mhm.
cream. I mean, how it's going to directly affect your kidneys, I say it wouldn't be different, but if you're a person that, if you have higher cholesterol, you're a little overweight and you're looking to, being a healthier weight is good for your kidneys, but um, you know, I think all in moderation is probably the best answer there.
Makes good sense. Okay. Um, are there any resources for finding local restaurants that let you limit or eliminate salt? I know one of the
Mm,
questions that was submitted, this person is having a lot of trouble finding restaurants that will let her eliminate salt.
okay. Uh, when you say local restaurants, I don't know if that person means like kind of your more local, not chain restaurants, like local diners and whatnot. I mean, all I can say is the best thing to do is ask. I mean, I would like to believe, the restaurant business is a service business, the industry, they're there to serve you as your customer and they um, should be doing the best they can to accommodate your request. If they don't, I mean, I don't have a great resource or recommendation. I mean, I can't make them do that for you. I wish I could.
Right.
My best suggestion is again if it's a restaurant that would have the online menu, so you can just make the best choice out of what's there. Um, and remember, I think it's important again to remember you might not be making this perfect meal, but you're making the best choice from what's available to you. And it's okay if it's not perfect.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. The other question, sodium seems like the most important measure to monitor, but how about fat and sugars?
Yeah, so sodium, it is the most important. I mean, out of compared to fat and sugar, I mean, they're directly related to your kidneys. The more salt we eat, and that's filtered through your kidneys, it's making them work harder. So, what you eat when you're in kidney disease, obviously your goal is to not make your kidneys work as hard. You want to, delay that progression as long as you can. Eating, sugar and fat, I would say it doesn't go as directly like talking about filtering through your kidneys, but ultimately being a good healthy weight is very, very important. So, yeah, I don't want to, I guess, bypass that. But I would say I don't focus on it quite as much. But I think it is important by all means, definitely important.
Okay.
Oh, and I should actually, before you go on, a lot of people with kidney disease do have diabetes as well. So yes, I mean the sugar should be monitored with that as well. It's not no sugar, no carbs though. It's definitely not a no carb diet. It's moderation and consistent intake of those.
Yep. Sounds good. We have another question here. They're a proponent of getting their labs done regularly. It helps them eat better as they are more aware of where their body is. The question is, do you have a recommendation on how often you think patients should get their labs done?
Ooh, well, I would say that depends on what stage you're in. Um, So I would say like, I mean, just kind of the way we practice here, for someone that is probably stage 3, they probably see our nephrologist every 6 months. And then, having lab checks with those, maybe every 6 to 8 months. And then as your disease progresses, they do, see them more frequently, even to where it's every 3 months or less. I don't know. I mean, I guess as a dietitian, no, I don't have a specific recommendation on, like, if you're in stage 3, I don't think it's necessary that you be checking your labs every single month. I'm not sure how much would be changing.
Okay. Yep, that makes sense. Okay. Another question here. It says salmon is high in sodium, but it's a healthy omega-3. So how should you balance that? Is smoked salmon not as good as plain salmon?
So smoked salmon, yeah, you're right. I mean, it balance that out. Great in omega-3. You know, smoked salmon would tend to be saltier. I mean, I would do more often. I would do fresh salmon over the smoked salmon. Um, have it grilled, baked, however you liked it. And of course, whatever someone may put on it, if I mean, maybe they do it plain, but if you have any, seasonings or sauces on it, be mindful of that because that could add the salt to it.
Okay. Yep. Sounds good. I think that's all the questions that we have for today. If anybody has another question, you can feel free to shoot us an email here at National Kidney Foundation of Wisconsin, and we're happy to pass along. Um, but with that, that concludes tonight's webinar. Thank you so much, Jill, for sharing your expertise with us today. I also want to just mention that our Spotlight on Life Gala is happening next week. We have sold out on tables, but we will be launching our silent auction later this week. So if you have any interest in that, make sure you check that out. But with that,
All right. Well, thank you. I just apologize to everyone for my coughing fit. Oh,
oh, thank you,
oh,
Jill. No
yeah.
worries. All right, take care, everybody.
Thanks.